The Irwin Allen produced disaster epic, The Towering Inferno, would be a massive undertaking, and the film would feature great special effects and massive sets, with a stellar supporting cast of actors, from Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, William Holden, Faye Dunaway, to even Fred Astaire. The budget of the film would be so big, in fact, that the film would become the first joint production of two major studios, Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox. The Towering Inferno was based on two novels, The Tower by Richard Martin Stern and The Glass Inferno by Thomas M. Scartier and Frank M. Robinson. Both of these novels were in fact inspired by the construction of the World Trade Center, which was constructed in the early 1970s. The disaster genre became the most popular genre in cinema during the 1970s, so there was a huge bidding war between both studios, Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox. Warner Brothers would outbid Fox, and the rights to the novel The Tower were sold for $400,000. Fox spent $300,000 to obtain the rights to the other novel, The Glass Inferno. Both books were similar in story and theme, so executives at both studios would decide to join forces and make one single film together, which was announced on October of 1973. Screenwriter Sterling Siliphant took several aspects from each novel and incorporated them into the screenplay, also adding the major climax of each novel, like the lifeline rescue to an adjacent rooftop from the tower, to the exploding water tanks from the Glass Inferno. The total budget of the film was over $14 million, and the two studios would agree to split the box office earnings. The Towering Inferno was an Irwin Allen production and was originally going to be solely directed by Irwin Allen, but 20th Century Fox refused to let Allen direct the whole film, so Allen would direct only the action sequences, and John Gillerman was hired to direct the non-action scenes. The production was enormous, with a total of 4 film units shooting at the same time. The story of The Towering Inferno follows the main character, architect Doug Roberts, who after a long holiday returns to see the work on his nearly completed skyscraper. He is concerned that the building's wiring specifications have not been installed the right way. A party is held to celebrate the opening of the building that night. Personal dramas unfold between the guests, while there are short circuits all through the building. One of the short circuits starts a fire, which begins to spread throughout the building from one level to another. A fire chief is called to head a daring rescue of all the surviving guests in the building. The studios spared no expense, especially when it came to the cast, and the film featured many well-known actors. One of the first roles to be cast was the role of Chief O'Halloran, which was originally going to be a less significant character in the film. They originally offered the role to Ernest Borgnine. Steve McQueen was originally offered the role of the architect, but was more interested in playing the fire chief, and remarked, "If somebody of my caliber can play the architect, I'll play the fire chief." So Paul Newman was cast in the role of the architect. The main problem producers faced in casting the main roles was that Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, and William Holden all wanted top billing. William Holden would be the most demanding of the actors, but he wasn't getting the lead roles that he got in the past. And at that time, Paul Newman and Steve McQueen were megastars and big box office draws, so they would both share top billing on the film poster. Newman and McQueen would have a friendly rivalry on set, and during break periods on set would even hang out and have a beer together. Most of the problems on set, though, were created by McQueen, who was truly the most dominant force on set. Newman and McQueen were both paid $1 million and would each receive 7.5% of the film's profits. Fred Astaire was cast in one of the supporting roles and gives a wonderful, understated performance. Faye Dunaway would be the lead actress in the film. Her role was originally offered to Catherine Ross, Raquel Welch, and Natalie Wood. Wood declined the role because she was pregnant and thought the script was mediocre. Irwin Allen's wife, Sheila Matthews, who had previously appeared in the Poseidon Adventure, would appear in The Towering Inferno. Even Paul Newman's son, Scott, would appear in the film. Robert Vaughn, Richard Chamberlain, Robert Wagner, O.J. Simpson as the Chief Security Officer. This film would also be Jennifer Jones' last starring role in a film. Brady Bunch star Mike Lookinland also appears. Steve Mcqueen did the majority of his own stunts, like he did on most of his films. One of Mcqueen's most dangerous stunts involved him leaping off a helicopter onto a burning building, much to the objections of Irwin Allen. During the filming, a real fire broke out on one of the sets, and Steve Mcqueen briefly found himself helping a real fireman put out the fire. One fireman, without recognising Mcqueen, said to him, "My wife is not going to believe this," to which Mcqueen replied, "Neither is mine." 1,000 real firefighters were actually hired for the whole production. Faye Dunaway often arrived late on set. Apparently on set, Dunaway was confronted by William Holden, who reportedly shoved Dunaway against the wall and threatened her. After this confrontation, she showed up on time for the rest of the production. 57 sets were built for the film, but the largest set constructed for the film was the promenade deck where the party was shot. The set was massive and cost $300,000. The set was 10 feet off the ground. In this climatic scene, Fred Astaire was not acting at all. When the water tanks exploded, he looked scared because he was in fact scared. No one was hurt or injured during this climatic scene. There were 60 stunt people used for 200 of the stunts. Irwin Allen, when directing the action sequences, wanted genuine surprises from the actors on set. To get this reaction, Allen would reportedly fire a handgun into the ceiling. This process would actually work. Irwin Allen would carefully plan out and storyboard each action sequence.
All projects start with doing a visualization of an idea. How is it going to look on the screen? These remarkable artists translate to pictures that which the writer has put into words. Starting a picture starts with a picture.
A lot of the exterior shots of the building were made up of a series of miniatures, including 50 stories worth of matte paintings. For the exterior shots of the skyscraper, a half-scale model was made up at the 20th Century Fox Ranch. Sections of the building were constructed for the actors and the stunt people to perform their scenes. Interior shots were in fact filmed inside San Francisco's Hyatt Regency. The scenic elevator in the building, used in some scenes, was used in many other films, like High Anxiety, Telephone, and Time After Time. Some exterior shots were filmed at the front of the Bank of America building. Of all the 57 sets built, only 8 of the sets would be left standing after production.
There were 69 sets when we started, but applauding the picture, there were only 2 when we finished. We burned down everything.
Principal photography was completed on September the 11th of 1974. The epic score was composed and conducted by John Williams. The amazing score has that identifiable classic Williams sound. Williams that same year composed music for another disaster film called Earthquake in 1974. The film was released a month apart from the release of the Towering Inferno, and at one stage, cinemas showed both movies on a double bill and promoted the showing as the Shake and Bake double feature. The Towering Inferno included the Academy Award-winning song We May Never Love Like This Again, composed by Al Kasher and Joel Hirschhorn, and the song was performed by Maureen McGovern. The Towering Inferno was released in theatres on December the 16th of 1974. The film was critically praised by critics like Roger Ebert, who gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, calling it the best of the 1970s wave of disaster films, with Variety praising the film, calling it one of the greatest disaster pictures made, and a personal and professional triumph for producer Irwin Allen. Some critics were not so impressed, with Gene Siskel only giving the film 2.5 stars out of 4, calling it a stunt and not a story. It's a technical achievement, more concerned with special effects than with people. That's why our attitude toward the film's cardboard characters is let 'em burn. Even William Holden, who starred in the film, called it lousy. The Towering Inferno earned 8 nominations at the Academy Awards, winning 3 Oscars, won for Best Cinematography, Best Editing and Best Song. Fred Astaire was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. The film was one of the biggest films ever, and it made $100 million on its domestic run, and made over $200 million worldwide. A TV movie titled Terror on the 40th Floor, about an office party on Christmas Eve, was aired just prior to the release of The Towering Inferno, and like Inferno, featured an all-star cast. Interesting to note that after novelist Roderick Thorpe saw the film, he dreamed that same night about a man being chased through a skyscraper by gun-wielding terrorists. This dream inspired him to write the book Nothing Lasts Forever in 1979, which would eventually be made into the 1988 action epic Die Hard. The Towering Inferno was a suspenseful, exciting film and offered up some of the greatest effects of 70s cinema. The budget was huge, and the film had an impressive cast, something not really seen in cinema today. Steve Mcqueen was at the height of his fame, as was Paul Newman. I marvel at the sheer size of this production and what was accomplished. I mean, how many films have two major film studios teaming up to finance one film? The Towering Inferno is definitely one of the great disaster epics. My name's Jonathan. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and like what you see on my channel, please subscribe, and if you would like to become a patron on my Patreon, click on the link below.